Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Hardscape Huddle. I'm your host, Kyle Staffa. Today, we have a good friend of mine, Mark Fuss, who is representing Fuss & Company. So I thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to see you in studio. It's been a long time. We've been trying to get it together.
Happy to be here.
Today's topic is going to be selling, how to sell and how to maybe get back to the basics of selling.
Very, very important.
Especially as things tighten up now.
Yeah, well, for the past 3 or 4 years, Kyle, we've been able to just wait for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
And it did. But, things are changing and people have to get back to really selling.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing, as we've discussed before, is most contractors, especially landscape contractors, they start out, they get a lawnmower, and then they get a pickup truck, and then they're in business.
Of course.
And no one ever taught them how to estimate, how to sell, which is what we're going to talk about, how to recover their overhead, how to collect their money. So much of that is on the job training, and I get that, but we're going to help them. That's what we're here today, is to help them sell.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to pull you out of retirement to get you here today. A little bit about yourself. Started at EP Henry?
Started at EP Henry in 1994.
Wow.
And at that point, EP Henry was a 80-some-year-old company. Most of the revenues were from masonry.
Yeah.
And I was brought in to really get the Hardscape division up and running and going. The management recognized that was the best opportunity for the company. And so I came in. I knew nothing about concrete when I came to EP Henry, but I did know building materials. I worked for some large corporations. So I understood the whole contractor, dealer, specifier dynamic and distribution, which is what made EP Henry what it was.
Right. And, you hail from Penn State, so we're going to give a shout out to the Nittany Lions and all of that. I had realized a long time ago when you were with EP that you were putting together something special. The people you brought in, the sales reps at that time were top shelf. You knew how to present product and develop a team and develop their personal skills into a dynamic sales force.
I have said on many occasions that our success at EP Henry was because of the team that we put on the field. The sum of the parts was much greater than the whole.
Yeah.
And everyone was the same but different. Everyone had the same passion for the business and drive for excellence, but they were all different. And we let them capitalize on what they did best. And then you develop the areas where they need development. And that's what we did. We're very proud of that.
Yeah, as you should be. That's you've got an extensive resume. Everything you've touched has turned to success.
I'm happy to be retired.
Well, the grandkids look like they keep you busy, so that's a good thing.
They do. Got plenty of things to keep me busy.
So talk to me about Fuss & Company.
I'm a business consultant. I've got a background that spans from Fortune 500 companies like Armstrong, McGraw-Hill, and then Oldcastle later in my career. Startups. I worked for a company called CenterCore, which was a startup office furniture company. So we literally started from square one and hired salespeople and built out a showroom and found customers and sold product. And I really enjoyed that. And then EP Henry, it's a family-owned business, or was a family-owned business.
Recently acquired by Oldcastle.
Yeah, correct. That was in 2021. But that means that the company had gone 118 years, 4 generations.
Not many companies have done that.
No, that's hard to do. Ford would be one that came out in 1903, the first year for EP Henry.
Wow.
My business skills are diverse. Certainly my expertise is in sales and marketing, but I bring a lot of the skills that the smaller companies don't have. Or don't know where to get. And so I can come in and look at a company and help them, basically.
Yeah. And it can be a company of all sizes, whether it's a landscape company, a masonry company, a design company, design build firm, possibly, whether it's 3 or 35, correct?
Absolutely. Some of my clients are 1 or 2 man operations, and I do have some large corporations I'm working with.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good.
So I wish you all the success.
Thank you, bro.
So today you brought your laptop and you have a PowerPoint presentation that I looked at yesterday is very good. So
good.
I was impressed, as I shouldn't have been impressed, because everything you do is spot on. But a lot, like you said, a lot of people don't have the skills or are just starting out and don't know where to turn.
Yeah.
And sometimes if they're a blank canvas, it's probably easy for a company like Fuss and Company to direct them before you get into bad habits.
Yeah. The most difficult thing for a lot of my clients is the change that's required after we do the discovery. Right. So typically they'll come with a problem or an opportunity, and we sit down and we flesh it out. And then comes the key point, which is, all right, how do you fix it or make it better? Mm-hmm. And in most cases, that requires change. And some of that can be a drastic change. But that's really where, there's no sense spending the money on a consultant if you're not going to listen to what he or she says.
Yeah.
And so it can be frustrating, but a lot of the times it's just, kind of moving it along in steps rather than trying to make a radical shift in the way something's been done.
Hey, it's anything you do, though. It's whether you're on a football field, the baseball field, the basketball court. If you're not listening to the coach, you're not going to get the playing time, meaning your business isn't going to be as successful. Yeah. Or even if you have a personal trainer at the gym or a life coach, if you're not willing to make the change and better yourself, better your business, what's the point of it all?
Yeah, right. Well, I think that, the people that are listening to this podcast are obviously interested in doing better.
Yeah, and that's the whole reason for the podcast, quite honestly, is we were sitting at Staff of Stone one day, and I constantly had 1 or 2 particular customers always saying, oh, I don't know if I'm making any money, or it's a race to the bottom. I'm tired of competing with these people, and so on and so forth. And I said, well, we've got to elevate this industry, and what a better way. Yeah. And we're not getting it right. We're making mistakes on the Hardscape huddle and what have you, but we're changing. And it's the first step towards growing this and growing the industry and making it stronger, having guys on like yourself. You were pretty regionalized, Northeast, I would say, right? And now, Hardscape Huddle has people out in California and Saskatchewan, Canada that tune into it. So we're going to get you out there and you're going to be famous again.
All right, good. Appreciate that.
So let's take a look at your podcast here. If we can get that up on this screen here.
We're going to talk today not just about selling, but selling on value, not price. Mm-hmm. And that's really important. I know that you're very active in a lot of the Facebook groups and see a lot of the banter about, what should I charge for this? Or,
It's the best question.
What would you charge? And it really angers me because it doesn't matter what the other guy charges, right? If they're got a low ball price that's going to lead them to go out of business, you certainly don't want to do what they're going to do.
I think a lot of people, they go to a job site. Now, I got to get that job. I've only got a month's worth on the calendar. I got to get that job. Yeah. Not every job is for you.
Well, I have said on more than one occasion that sometimes the best jobs you get are the ones you don't get, right?
For sure.
If you go in, if it smells like a rat, it probably is a rat.
Yeah. And, we had Paver Pete. I think you know him.
Yeah,
He's been on the podcast here. And he says, depending on the size of the job, you should pre-qualify those homeowners.
Always.
Okay.
You shouldn't go out without pre-qualifying.
Right. And that's where he was going with it. If the job is, $5,000, I think he says, just do it over the phone. Send me some pictures. What is it? Not that a $5,000 job isn't one worth taking.
Right.
It's just how much how many hours are you going to put into that before you're making 3 visits? Now you're cutting into your own margin.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of contractors are charging now for their estimates and for that first visit.
As they should.
I mean, what professional? Have you ever gone to a lawyer and say, don't charge me for the first hour? I mean, it just doesn't happen. Or a dentist or any other professional. Unfortunately, a lot of our customers are afraid because they don't know, right? And so they're afraid to get into those tough conversations with the customer, which ultimately will help them and the customer. You just have to ask the questions and ask the right questions.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of this. And I will share with you that I originally put the basis of this presentation together for the HNA. Okay. When Hardscape North America had gone virtual, they put together an entire program that was delivered via PowerPoint and Teams meetings.
Was that during COVID?
That was during COVID.
Okay, yeah. Wow.
So, the information is relevant, it's topical, and it's based upon research that I've done, and certainly a lot of the information that I've gathered over the years as a sales professional. And that's what I consider myself. So here's what we're going to learn today. We're going to learn the difference between price and value. That's huge. And why it's important that you sell the value over the price. And then I think the most important thing is, what can they do? What are some of the things that they can do to help sell the value over the price? So as a business owner, you've got 3 ways that you can improve your profits. Number 1, you can cut your costs, right? And we should always be
whether it's overhead or insurance. And I think sometimes we just get focused on, well, it's going to cost me $25,000 for insurance. Maybe you want to, reprice it with a couple different companies.
I recommend that a contracting company shop their insurance at least every 2 years.
Yeah.
Insurance, phones, stuff like that. You'd be surprised how much the prices will vary. And also you'll be surprised about how your incumbent suppliers might be willing to lower their price when they have a little competition.
Yeah, the answer is always no if you don't ask the question.
Exactly right. And then the third way is to sell more products or services, and that's what we're going to focus on. So Warren Buffett, most people know who Warren Buffett is, says that price is what you pay and value is what you get.
Right.
And that's really important to understand. And an example of that is what you see here on the screen. So here you've got Sam's Cola available at Walmart for $2.17 for a 12-pack, or you could buy a 12-pack of Pepsi for $4.98. Same stuff, right? Brown flavored liquid in a can.
Probably in the same factory.
Probably in the same factory, right? And so here you've got 129% added value.
Yeah.
Similar analogy. Now, this is the hardscapes industry. Here you've got manufacturer A on the left that sells their 4x8 Holland stone for $3 a square foot. Manufacturer B sells it for $4 a square foot. Same thing. Same product made on the same mold in the same machine with the same raw material, but that's a 33% increase in the value of that product.
Mm-hmm.
The key here is the brand helps drive the value.
Yeah.
And so every contractor out there should be focused on their brand every day, all day, and all the things that drive that brand. Their people, what people say about them, their advertising,
how they're dressed,
company
culture.
Exactly right. So all those things drive the brand. And when you think about the top contractors in our world, they do a lot. They're focused on all this stuff.
You can drive down the road and pick out some of the better landscape design build firms in our area here at the Jersey Shore. The trucks all look the same. Okay, they're all. I'm going to pick out one, a Ford 750. Okay, crew cab. They're white with a black body. and they're
clean,
stenciled up.
Yeah.
There's a couple companies, I don't particularly know them, but he's got a built-in car wash in his garage, I hear. So every day the trucks come in, or every Friday the trucks come in, they drive right through the car wash. The truck is immaculate every day.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Shout out to my friend Jared Hinson from Earth, Turf, and Wood.
Yes.
Who's got those truck washes in his shop.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But
he's
all
setting
part
the
of his
precedent.
brand.
Right. He's setting the precedent.
Yeah.
When you hire me and I'm X amount more than, company ABC, there's a reason for it. Yeah. My guys all look the same. We're wearing PPEs, all my guys, okay? All the personal protection. We're insured. Yeah. You know what you're going to get from us.
Yeah.
So,
huge. Learn how to sell. Go back to my statement that most people in our industry, have never been taught how to sell. So what do? You got to figure that out on yourself. You listen to podcasts like this, or you buy some books. Here's 4 that I really like. This is the best one. The Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People is life-changing. I mean, the basic tenets of this book will affect not only you as a salesperson, but as a human being. How to Master the Art of Selling by Tom Hopkins. Really like that. The Little Red Book of Selling, and The Greatest Salesman in the World by O.G. Mandino. So these are 4 books. There's a lot out there. And there's also a lot of stuff on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
We all learn how to do things.
And these are probably all on audiobooks by now.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you don't have to dedicate X amount of hours to reading a book. I know I always was a procrastinator at reading books. Now I actually enjoy it because I can shut the rest of the world off.
Yeah. And there's a lot of windshield time in our business.
Yeah, for sure.
So, so I recommend these books and go out and pick one up.
The E-Myth is a great book.
Yeah, that's another really good
it's not designated towards how to sell.
Right.
But it's how to run your business.
So then what you have to do is create your ideal customer profile. And this is the person that you want to sell to. It might be who you're selling to now, thankfully. But what you want to do is really create that profile of your ideal customer. Where do they live? Are they, how wealthy are they?
Home
what
value?
Size? Certainly they're going to be a homeowner, right? To buy any of our products. They belong to clubs. Do they know people that you know? Stuff like that. And then once you do that, you got to find them.
Yeah.
So where do these people go? One way of doing that is certainly using Facebook or other digital media when you can dial in who you want to see your message.
So we did an earlier podcast. It might have been episode 1 with Kevin Moat from a media company, and he taught us you can dial it down to credit score, home value, and that's all the things you're talking about here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So it could be geographic region. Maybe you don't want to. Many years ago, when I lived in Middlesex County, New Jersey, there was 2 or 3 guys. They're very good friends of mine. They didn't even leave the town.
Yeah.
They didn't have to.
If you don't have to, that's why it's important that you dial it in.
Mm-hmm.
When business was falling from the sky, you could really say, I'll just take things in my neighborhood or in my county or something like that. And then when times get tough, people are a little more willing to advance out further.
Yeah.
But all the time you should be revisiting, who's your best customer? What things do they like? Do they own boats? What have you? And then you can dial that in.
Yeah. No, that's a very good one.
You talked about this, and I love bringing this up. Look and act like you're going to deliver the highest value.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not hard to do. I know a lot of contractors have to run from the job site to do the estimate or the presentation. Have some clean clothes in your car, couple wipes to clean up on there. But really, think about, particularly, I think most people aspire to the big jobs, right? Everyone wants to put their name on the big macked out backyard.
Of course.
So if you're asking somebody to spend $50, $100, $150, $200,000, you better look the part, right?
Right. And you better your crew better represent that well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was a study done once that said that if you put your people in uniforms, you could charge up to 20% more, because the perceived value, again, the perception value is perception, is greater.
Now, just 1 second while you're on that. Now, we at Staff of Stone, blue collared shirts, khaki pants. Well, I allow everybody else to buy it. We will reimburse you. Okay. But if you are paying for your crews, maybe it's UniFirst uniforms, that's an expense. It's a tax write-off. Everybody gets fitted. Guys, yes, it's an outlay. Don't get me wrong. But you get that back.
Yeah, you get them 5 clean shirts and a couple pairs of pants. And
they don't even have to do their own laundry at that point. So they have no reason to not have clean clothes.
Right.
They come, they pick them up, they deliver you clean ones the next week. Just that easy.
All right, so this Macaulay Culkin looking kid here, assuming that you've made the appointment, you're going out to make the presentation and do the estimate or what have you. This is one of the most important things, guys and girls. You've been given 2 ears and 1 mouth. So ask a lot of questions and listen and lead them down the path that you want to lead them. So you should be asking lots of questions up front about when, where, what, who, how, and why. All right. So let's talk about these things. The when is, when do you want it done? Mm-hmm. I want it done by Labor Day. I want it done by
4th of July.
What have you? When do you want it done? Because right away, if you're available and your competitors aren't, you start honing in on that. Right. Mm-hmm. Focus. If that when is really important to them, that becomes one of the wells that you dive down. Right.
Yeah. But what happens if you're not available?
You're not available. I mean, right. Either that or you build the anticipation that it's worth waiting.
And if you do the previous steps.
Right.
Okay. If you're carrying yourself well, if you networked and you pinned down what homeowner base you want, they're probably willing to wait for you.
The where is obviously, where is it going to be? Is it your house? Is it your vacation home? What is it? The what? Is it a patio? Is it patio a seat wall? What are you looking for? The who is it for you guys? Is it for your mother-in-law? But who is it? Is it typically it's either the husband or the wife. And in our business, more often than not, it's the wife that's driving this.
Until it comes to the outdoor kitchen.
Until it comes and beating up the contractor.
Do you want the kegerator? How big of a grill do you want? How many people are you cooking for?
Yeah. The how is what you're going to do, right? The how is, how am I going to translate your dreams and desires into a finished project? But the most important thing, the box here with the red around it, the why. Mm-hmm. Why are they doing this? And typically there's some sort of emotional driver behind the project. My daughter's getting married. We're going to have the patio out back. I like to entertain, and we want that big macked out kitchen. So hone in on that specific, why are you doing? Yes, you want a new patio, but why?
Right.
Why? And you find that, and then you put all in.
Is it safe to say some of the viewers watching today can make a checklist off of this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Carry it with them.
Yeah.
That's their sales tool.
I would put down when, where, what, who, how, why. Have that. And then the big thing is how much. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And that's the conversation that probably should be had even before you go out.
Right. What's your budget?
Well, we don't have a budget. Well, you got to give me something. You got to give me a range. Are we talking $10,000 to $50,000? And then I can tell you whether I can do what you want me to do with that money.
Right. Or we're phasing this project.
Or we're phasing the project. Or sometimes you got to walk away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like you said earlier.
If they expect to get this big, beautiful patio and only spend $5,000, don't waste my time or your time.
And it's funny, we talk about this this project from many, many years ago, and you were a part of it. Biggest project I ever worked on was about $432,000 residential backyard. Wow. Okay. Exactly. Wow.
Yeah.
Right. Pool house. I think it was a pool, outdoor kitchen. And not one time did that homeowner ever question, well, what product are we using?
Yeah.
It didn't matter. The design was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was presented very well. And I think we used E.P. Henry Old Town Cobble at that time, Dakota Blend. But again, it's presentation.
Yeah.
The gentleman that did that job is a good friend of mine, and he presented it very well. A couple visits, and it was a signed contract. And I think it took him like 6 months. So he was in that backyard for a long time.
Yeah, I like this checklist, and I like filling it out in front of the homeowner, because that way you're in agreement. We're in agreement. These are the key points for you here,
right?
And that's another gate as you move down the road here. So you've done all this, and then your biggest advantage are you, your company, and your solution, right? You want to have a patio for your daughter's wedding in September. I can do it. Here's all the things we can do, blah, blah, blah. You and your company, that's the most important thing. Sales is all built on trust.
Yeah.
We buy from people we trust. And if I don't trust you, I'm not buying from.
Yeah. So basically on trip one or meeting one, I'm going to call it, is you're selling yourself and making them feel comfortable with what you're going to do.
Yeah. I look good.
Yeah.
I showed up on time. Unfortunately, as most Americans have a very bad opinion of contractors in general.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Are they going to call me back? Are they going to show up? Are they going to take my money and leave? There's a lot of fear that goes into hiring any contractor.
For sure.
Whether it's landscape, electrical, plumbing,
roofers, siders.
So this trust is the most important building stone that you can set.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And they don't even realize they have a problem. You have solution up there.
Yeah.
Homeowners don't even realize they have the problem. The problem is you don't have an outdoor entertaining facility.
Right. And then the other thing we need to understand in our business is this thing called want and need, right? Most of what we sell is a want, not a need. Now, you could say, some retaining walls, that's a need, right? You got to support the house, the pool, what have you. But most of the stuff that we're selling is a want.
And while you're on that too, and they should go in that checklist, is a lot of times homeowners don't realize that they actually want things they don't know about. Outdoor lighting, that fire feature.
Right.
Maybe
we're going to talk about that.
Okay. Sorry.
But you're right. You're absolutely right. So you've gone in there, you've met with them, you've asked the questions, you've listened, right? Listen, repeat, make sure that you understand what they're saying. And then you've got the trust. Here's what we're going to do. And then now you have to create that separation, right? Because you're probably going to have one or two other contractors that are going to come in behind you. And so how do you create that separation?
Or if they were there before you.
Right. Yeah.
Be different.
Yeah. You're knocking out the incumbent. So do things your competition won't or can't. Not putting your feet behind your ears like this, but certainly, there are certain things. How are you different and better, right? In any business, you have to prove that you're different and or better, or nobody wants to do business with you.
We just had a contractor come through the door, says he was $6,000 or $7,000 more expensive than the other 4 people that were there.
Yeah.
But he signed the contract right then and there on the spot. And I said, well, what separated you from everybody else? He says, I never badmouthed anybody. He said everybody else came in and saw the other estimates or, got a feel for who was already there ahead of them. And it's like, oh, don't use so-and-so. Don't do this. He's, his cuts aren't the best or what have you. And he says, I didn't say anything. He said, they told me who they were, also considering. And he says, I didn't talk down about them, those companies.
And they trusted him.
Right. And from that, he signed it. He was, mind blown.
So you need to understand, how are you different and better than the competition, and then use that to your advantage. One way of selling, people buy a lot on fear, right? So
Mhm.
you don't have to badmouth the competition, but there's nothing wrong with saying any contractor that you hire, make sure that they're insured.
Right.
Because if they get hurt on your property and they're not insured, you're going to get dinged, Mr. Homeowner.
Yeah. So you listened to the last podcast we just aired, huh?
No.
That was a whole insurance.
One way of really creating this separation is through 3D design imaging. And I know that you're a big proponent of this.
For sure.
And I think that at some point you want to offer this service to your customers.
Yeah, I think we're going to do that over at Staff of Stone. We'll, collect all the data and have 3D renderings and even some 2Ds.
All the big boys do this.
Yeah.
The best contractors out there all are doing this now because it's a way of the homeowner seeing how it's going to look on their house.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's one thing. Everyone started out doing little sketches and all that.
Painting in the grass.
Painting the grass, exactly. But with this 3D imaging, you bring it to life. You can fly through it.
Yeah.
You can change it out quickly. It probably takes as long to develop the initial plan as if you hand drafted it, but it's the changes that it really facilitates. And then if you get the homeowner involved in the changes, so if they say, gee, I like this, well, let's do that together, right? Now you have pride of authorship.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, and they feel like they're building it. Like
they're building it, and that trust again. They've got more skin in the game. So 3D software is a great way. It's not a huge expense anymore.
Well, there's a couple services out there that do it from remote areas.
Yeah,
right.
You
like I said, you gather the information and you send it to these companies.
Right.
I think there's a couple, one in Boston and one in Ohio, I believe, and they do a great job.
Yeah, there's several guys out there. That's all they do. You give them the site plans, all the information. They'll prepare this for you. But really, it's become easy enough that the average bear can do it and invest some time, obviously, to learn how to do it. People determine the value by comparing, right? So give them more. Here's 2 examples of proposals. Contractor A said, here's a new 20 by 20 patio, 12 by 20 patio for $20,000. Contractor B is going to come in and spell out all the steps they're going to do. A, it makes them look better, and B, it makes the other person play up to your level. Rather than you play down to their level and get caught up in the price, make sure that they're doing all the stuff that you're doing.
Well, wouldn't you agree that using this contract format here also gives them comfortability with you?
Oh, absolutely.
They know that you're putting in geotextile in there. They know what you're using and how you're going to compact it in 4-inch lifts. This way they can take this, and on their side note, they can look up ICPI or whatever hardscape paver they chose, what the recommendations for install is.
Yeah.
Rather than over there, you have no idea what you're getting.
It's blind. It's really,
right.
You think about yourself as a homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
Which would you prefer?
Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely.
And again, contractors, if you're tuning in, you may want to include proof of insurance in this.
Yeah.
Behind this or in front of this proposal.
A license if that's required in your state.
For sure.
Yeah. And point that out to the homeowner. Look, I don't know who you're going to pick for this job. I certainly hope it's going to be me, but help yourself and make sure whoever you hired is licensed, insured, certified, all the other things, because they're spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
They're not spending $500, right?
Yeah.
So make them comfortable with it and make sure that they understand you're the best person for the job. Share testimonials. It's huge. People always like to know what other people say about them.
Show photos.
I'm a big proponent of the wedding album presentation.
Okay.
I know a lot of people have gone digital now, and some people just bring in brochures and have the homeowners leaf through the brochures. I'm a big proponent of something that looks like a wedding album because women like that. Mostly women are driving the hardscape. Women, you watch women, they shop with their hands. You go to a store, watch your wife or your whoever shop, they touch everything. Right? They feel it, they touch it, they hold it up and all. Same thing with products. They like looking through books. And if you have these beautiful pictures, doesn't cost you a lot for, you've got a cell phone now that takes a beautiful picture.
For sure.
You got beautiful pictures, you got testimonials in there, any awards, any letters. Again, that trust level. And you're going to come in with this big, beautiful wedding album, and your jabroni competitor is going to come in and throw a couple catalogs down on the table. Again, it just, it's an easy way of playing.
Getting back to the touchy-feely, that's why the supply yards invest so much in displays.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about contractors bringing their homeowners to the displays?
Oh, I like it. I think they need to see the actual product. They need to see the color, the texture at some point.
Not visit one.
When
we get to our finals, after the conceptual's done, maybe.
But if you know where they are in the sales process, so when you're calling to qualify for the appointment, if you know that they're hot to trot, they've got the money, they're ready to go if you can do it within your schedule, you might want to be bringing samples then.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. How about taking them, give me your thoughts on taking them to past jobs or jobs you're in progress.
I don't have a problem with that as long as the other homeowner is set up, right?
Yeah, they have to be aware.
They know, and you're comfortable that they're going to say good things and the right things and all that stuff. I don't have a problem with that.
And years past, and maybe it was a old sales event you've put on in the past in Atlantic City and things like that, I believe I learned, ask the questions of, what does his job site look like now? What does his job site from 5 years ago look like? What does that backyard patio look like from 10 years ago? And just ask I want to see some projects you've done.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
So be prepared for that.
Don't sell what it is, sell what it will do. So this goes back to the emotional side of this. Most of us sell fire pits on every job. You just kind of throw it in. How about a fire pit? But paint the picture. It's not just a fire pit. Can you imagine your family around cooking s'mores around the fire pit? It's all romancing the stone,
It's creating the memories, right, with your family.
Back to the emotional decision why people do this stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
How come I don't see any smoke there? Is that a gas one or what? That smoke is always blowing in my face.
Marketing. So you talked about this before. To build more value, add more benefits. Do you want a fireplace? How about outdoor kitchen, landscape lighting, seat walls?
I didn't even know I could have that in my yard.
Exactly right.
Yeah. And that one has a pavilion.
Yeah.
That's become a big thing lately.
Huge.
So,
all right, here's one of the things, kind of I hope an aha moment. One of the things the automobile industry does really well is they break it down into digestible components. So when you go to buy that car, it's not a $50,000 car, it's $599 a month.
That's right.
Right? So if you go in and do a presentation and your presentation comes to $15,000, they were prepared to sell or spend $10,000. Say, okay, let's talk about that additional $5,000. If you're in this house for 10 years, that's $500 a year. Or you break it down, it's going to be what, $40 a month.
Yeah.
Right? Are you willing to do this?
Yeah.
It becomes much more.
And everybody can find $40 a month
somewhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's very good, because off camera we were talking about my backyard pool. And I said, well, it's going to be X amount of dollars. So we need to pay ourselves X amount, or it's paying us X amount of dollars per year.
Yeah.
And
it's the value.
And then, so I still think that's a lot of money.
Of course it is.
But then you break it down by 12 months and you're like, oh, okay, it's got a little smaller. I can afford that now. Yeah. Right. So it's all in perception.
Sell the value of the brands. You know, all these major brands, Unilock, Techoblock, Cultured Stone, they've spent millions of dollars creating a brand that you're going to represent in their projects. Leverage that. Leverage those brands with your brand, with Staff of Stone, and put together that package that
so some of the common misconception is, well, why are you using this brand and not that brand? What are some of the techniques you can tell a contractor on how to get around that?
Well, I think what you want to do is, again, you're the professional. They're hiring you, particularly with Hardscape. They buy that once or twice in their lifetime.
Right.
They're really, they're knowledgeable because they read things online. They do a lot of research online, but generally they don't know. So if you say with confidence, yeah, there's a lot of manufacturers out there, but I use this one because they're here to support me. If there's a problem, they have the best quality. Whatever it is, you talk about the key features and the benefits of you using that particular brand.
I think you just hit the nail on the head, quite honestly, is especially with concrete products right now, everybody's struggling. There were some changes that they had to make in the concrete production. And there's a little bit more efflorescence happening right now. There's some different byproducts of the concrete, and it's not necessarily. So I sell, like, Techoblock, Unilock, and everybody has problems. It's how they handle it.
Yeah.
And how fast they come out. So, yes, you might be the installer, and it might be Techoblock, Unilock, Old Castle, but it's how they handle that product. Are they standing behind you? Are they allowing you to swap that out? And sometimes it comes up to the distributor too. We do a pretty good job of, let's make Mrs. Smith happy, and then I'll take it up with the manufacturer.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be done.
Yeah, exactly. Demand raises value, and bidding lowers it. So create that urgency. We talked about fear being a driver for people buying stuff. Urgency is a great one. So if you're in there and you say, hey, you want to do the close, right?
Of course.
Give me the order.
Yeah.
Right. You don't ask yes or no questions, right? You ask open-ended questions. So it's like, can we start this job next Tuesday, or would Wednesday be better for you? And then, oh, well, I'm really booked. I've got a week here in August I can get you in.
Right.
So that urgency creates more value and facilitates the sale.
That's an interesting concept, because in New Jersey, and I don't know if it's every state, you have to have a rough start date and a rough ending date.
Didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Is that in the contract?
It needs to be. I know a contractor, you know him as well, and he was burned because he didn't have an end date.
Come in with your best price and don't waver. Because if you've created all this value, and you could tell that I'm up front, I urge people, tell them up front, I'm going to give you a price. Don't expect to Presbyterian me down. I'm going to give you my best price. Just as you don't negotiate with your dentist or your lawyer.
You pay full price for those shoes.
This is the price. This is the price. Don't waver. It's so hard to do, particularly if you need business, but dig in.
Yeah.
Give them your best number up front.
Well, what if I give you cash?
Then you can decide whether you want to give some sort of a cash discount.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Again, you're bringing value. Like you're saying, this is what this whole slideshow is about, value.
The more value that you bring them, the less likely they are to nickel and dime you. Right?
Yeah.
They trust you. They know you're going to deliver the right project and satisfy their needs, their wants, right? they won't even ask you the question.
Yeah, no, that's great. And your time is valuable. You just spent X amount of time on a design. You've met with them twice, and now they want to beat you up on the price?
Yep. Run from this type of customer, the person that says, I'm only interested in the lowest price. Don't even play. Just wave the flag, get out. There's no value for this person.
Right.
They're just looking for the price. Unless you want to get caught up in that, and some people do that, just walk away. So the bottom line here is focus on the value of your product or service, the less likely that price becomes the most important factor.
Well, that also goes into the pre-qualifying, the 6 or 7 questions you had up there, right?
Yeah.
Of who is your customer base. If this is a house that they're going to flip or only be in there 3 years, they probably don't want to sink $100,000 into the backyard.
Right.
Okay, so maybe they want to put in a $10,000 backyard, just a small patio, maybe a sitting wall for now.
Yeah.
Or if it's a person that wants to put that same 12 by 20 patio in, but it's their forever dream home, they probably want something a little bit bigger that they can grow into.
Yeah.
You know,
that's the why, right?
Right.
Figuring out the why.
Right.
So one more thing, Kyle, I want to talk about here that's not part of the presentation. And one of the things, as people are looking for more opportunities, people are starting to get a little bit nervous. The leads aren't coming in. One of the things that we do a poor job in our industry is going back to our existing customers and ask them for either more business or referrals.
Mm-hmm.
And I recommend that you go through your list of customers and kind of assess, well, we built this patio, but we didn't put a seat wall. Or these people could really use some low voltage lighting. And so if you just approach the customer and say, Mrs. Jones, did your job a couple years ago. I'm going to be in the area. I just want to come out to make sure that everything's okay.
Right.
Who's going to say no? So right away, you're going to get invited in, assuming you did a good job and they're happy with it and all that. So they invite you in and you come in, you sit down. We built this patio, Mrs. Brown. We didn't put a seat wall around it. I could put a seat wall here for you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah? How much would that? About $4,000, whatever it's going to be.
Right.
They're probably not going to, grind you down. They're probably going to accept your number. You were fair before. I trusted you before. Therefore, I'm going to trust you again.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about the same thing, cleaning and sealing.
Exactly. Oh, huge.
Okay. Big market for it. Not many guys in Jersey. It's a little hard in New Jersey and Pennsylvania.
Well, because you can't get 2 good days in a row to clean it and then seal it, right?
Yeah. So that it becomes hard, but you touched on it, low voltage lighting.
Yeah.
It's a huge market.
And growing, and it's so easy now.
Mm-hmm.
But just, the point here is go back to your existing customers. And also, if they were happy with you, ask them for referrals.
Yeah.
Do you have any friends, relatives, church, friends, whatever, that might need something similar? They'll help you out. If they like you, they'll be more than happy to help you.
So what I guess I'm hearing from you is we got to think outside the box.
Oh, yeah. Always. You have to constantly reinvent. You have to constantly hone your skills, look at what you're doing, assess it. How can I do it better? And
so there's a contractor, and I know you know of him. I don't know him, and you may have mentioned him before. When he does a job over X amount of dollars, he throws a dinner party.
Oh, yeah.
And he asks the homeowner. He hires a chef. He asks the homeowner to invite X amount of couples from either inside the development or their local friends.
Right.
And his thought process is once they see this project. Yeah. Okay, it speaks for itself. One of them is going to want it because they got to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah, right.
But it's thinking outside the box.
Yeah,
He's the only person I know that does it.
And I guarantee you the money for that party is somewhere built into it.
Of course. It isn't coming out of his pocket.
There's no free. But also then what that gives you an opportunity to do is take pictures
of
with
people
enjoying it.
Right.
One of my pet peeves in our industry is we have all these what I call nuclear winter pictures. You have a beautiful backyard and no people. And if you put people in the picture, then people can project themselves into that and say, look how happy they are with their new pool. That's gonna be me.
Yeah, so we recently just talked about this. I'm not sure if it was an episode of the Hardscape Huddle or not, but it's getting that homeowner to feel the smoke off that fireplace or fire pit. Envision themselves in their own yard without the 3D fly-through design,
Right.
but while they're standing on our display or what have you. Just get them to get that sense of feeling.
Back to the emotional side of the purchase.
Yeah. So you got to think outside the box. How are you going to do it? Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult than other times. And this just struck me as you said, going back to Mrs. Smith. Water features. You can do small fountains, big margins in it, not a lot of manpower involved. Yeah. Changes the whole dynamic of the backyard.
Yeah.
Drowns out the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And also, life throws you a curveball. So maybe the family grew unexpectedly. Now they're putting in that pool.
Yeah.
Well, you want to stay in the forefront and make sure you get that pool surround.
Exactly. Go back to your existing customer. Once a year, call them up, visit them, see how they're doing, get more business.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do people reach you? If they want to hire Mark Fuss,
well, they can call me directly, 610-322-3531.
Okay.
Or mfuss@hotmail.com. I'm that old. I have a Hotmail account. Or through Staff of Stone. Certainly, you have my contact information.
For sure.
More than happy to help people.
Willing to travel everywhere? Or
wherever they need me, I can go.
Okay. So. That's quite something. Give me what it looks like. You're going to meet with them. You're spending time with them in their office, on job sites, or what does that look like?
I like doing what's called SWOT, SWOT, which is a very old business school tactic where you talk about the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. Mm-hmm. And you listen to you ask those questions of three distinct groups. One would be the owner and the management team. And then you ask the lower levels within the organization those same questions. And then you ask the customers, what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats?
Yeah.
And then the action plan and the cream bubbles to the top, right?
Yeah.
Most businesses knows what ails them, but you need someone to tell you that. And particularly if that weakness comes up at all three levels, you better address it. So, strength, weakness, opportunities, threats, three different groups. And then from there, we come up with an action plan. And what you want to do is you want to maximize and amplify your strengths. You want to minimize or eliminate your weaknesses. You want to capitalize on any opportunities that are out there. And then the threats are just things that need to be on the radar screen. You probably can't influence it or change it, but you need to know that it's there so you can be prepared to respond when that time should come.
And the business owner needs to be willing to change his business, where even the model, listen to the coach.
I'll work with them if they don't want to change, but it certainly behooves them to at least,
they've hired you.
Let's make the business better. Let's make more money. Let's make a better life for our employees and our families.
And again, that's kind of what this whole podcast is about, right? Today you talked about value, how to sell value versus, or what you're bringing to the homeowner being the value versus just a particular product or price driven.
Right.
So I hope everybody, got something out of that.
I hope they learned something.
So thank you for tuning in to the Hardscape Huddle. Mr. Fuss, thank you very much.
Mr. Stafford, always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Bye.